Hey everyone, welcome back. So, before we begin today, I just want to let you know one thing that all the code is available in my GitHub repository and you can find that link in the description. In case if you are new to this session, please watch the previous sessions and try to implement that code. So, till now, we have seen how to build a bronze to silver pipeline and handle duplicates. Today, we will see how we can design a safe place to keep incoming data files, like a warehouse for files in the cloud. In Azure, this is called ADLS or Azure Data Lake Storage. Today, we will see how we can connect ADLS securely to Databricks and implement the design. So guys, let's get started. So let's see how to create ADLS Gen2. For that, let's move on to the Azure portal. And currently I'm inside the resource group. So inside the same resource group, I'm going to create a new resource that is a storage account resource. So you can search for storage account, create. I have chosen this resource group and storage account name. This should be globally unique. So I'm going to name it like master DB storage account 001. No special characters are allowed. Okay. Now let's click on the service. So this is Azure Data Lake Storage and performance. We can keep it like standard for the learning purpose and redundancy also we can look for locally redundant storage LRS. Now let's move on to next. So to create a ADLS Gen 2, you have to click on the hierarchical namespace. We have to enable this one. So this will give the account a folder structure and data like behavior. So always remember to check this one. Now let's click on review plus create. Create. So the storage account is created successfully. Let us go to the resource. So guys, this is our storage account. Now inside the storage account, we are going to create a container. Expand data storage option and click on container. So basically a container is like a secured room inside this warehouse. Click on add container and let's name it like landing. Create. Okay. So we got our container. Now we are going to create a folder inside this container. To create a folder, you can click on add directory. Let's name it like transactions and click on save. Now we will upload a file into this transaction folder. Let's click on the transactions and click on the upload option. Browse for files. So this is the file I'm going to upload. Upload. Let's see the file. So file got uploaded successfully. When you click on the edit button, you can see the file. You can see here there are 4 valid transactions inside this file. So our ADLS Gen 2 storage account is ready and we have loaded the file into the folder called as transactions inside the landing container. Now the next step is we are going to create an access connector for Azure Databricks. So to create an access connector, you have to come back to the resource group. We can click on create a resource, search for access connector for Azure Databricks, create. We are going to keep the same resource group and let us name this as master Databricks storage account. access connector. You can think of it like creating an official employee ID for the Databricks, so that when Databricks needs to open our ADLS storage, Azure must know exactly who is asking for access. So instead of sharing our username, password, or secret key, we give Databricks this secure identity. So you can think of it like an employee ID. Okay, now let's click on next. There is nothing to do here. Let's move on to the next option. Here, there is an option called as System Assigned Manage Identity. This means Azure automatically creates and manages this ID for this access connector. So there is no need of password to copy, save, or share. Okay. So let's keep this option as on, and now let's click on Review plus Create. Create. The deployment is completed. Now let's go to the access connector resource. Let's refresh here. You can see here access connector resource. Now we will copy this resource ID. So here you can see the resource ID. Let's copy this resource ID. So that in the next step, we will see the Unity catalog using this ID to connect to the correct Databricks identity with our storage access. So we created the access connector identity, and we can imagine this like an employee ID. Okay, now the ADLS does not know what it is allowed to do. Okay, so you can think of it like a new employee badge exists. Okay, so we got a new employee badge, but the warehouse, what is the warehouse? The warehouse is the ADLS. So the door of the ADLS is still stay locked until we approve access. Okay, so it is like, okay, the badge is ready, but the door is still locked. What we have to do? We have to unlock the door. Okay, so what is the warehouse here? We have created one container, right? That is called as the warehouse. Okay, so what was the container? The container name was landing. Let's move on to the ADLS account. So what we can do, we can duplicate this tab, and here we can go to the home and search for resource. This was our resource, and this is our ADLS storage account, and we have this container. Okay. So let me repeat once again. Here we got the employee badge. Okay. Now what is the warehouse? Warehouse is the container, that is the landing. We named it as landing. Okay. Now you can imagine like this is a warehouse and the door is still locked. But we already have the badge. Now we have to see how we can approve this badge so that it can open the door and create the connection. Okay. So for that, what we are going to do inside this landing container, we are going to assign a role to this access container. Let's go to the container and click on the access control IAM for this container. Now we are going to assign a role to this container. The role name is storage blob data contributor. This is the one. Select this role and click on next. So we are going to assign this access to the access connector. So click on manage identity, select members. You can see here our access connector for Azure Databricks. This is the one. We got our access connector resource. Okay. Now we have chosen this one. Select. Then click on next. Nothing here to do. We will do the review plus assign. So what have we done? Inside the landing container, we have assigned storage blob data contributor role to the access connector. So what will happen? This will let the Databricks to read the incoming files and write data whenever needed. And also you have seen that we have given access only to the landing container, right? Not the entire storage account. Why? It is like giving an employee access to one workroom instead of the whole building. So you can imagine like warehouse as a old building. So instead of in that old building, we have one room that is the landing container. Okay. So we have given the access only to that particular container. This is called as least privilege. Give only the access required to do the job, nothing extra. So now the permission is ready. So we got the employee badge, that is the access connected, and we have given the role to the container as well. Okay. Now the next step is to register this badge with the security desk so that we will get the correct access. So what we have to do, let's move on to the Databricks portal. In Databricks, we will create a storage credential. So we can think of this like registering our Databricks employee badge with the security desk. So to create a storage credential, you have to go to the catalog option. Here you can see the settings icon, click on connect, and here we have the credentials. Create credential. We will choose the Azure Managed Identity. Let's name it like FinTech ADLS Credential. Now we have our employee badge, right? That is our Access Connector Resource ID. Let's click on this one and let's paste it here. So this is like a source reference to the managed entity that we created. So Unity Catalog uses this reference to make sure Databricks access storage using the correct approved identity. Okay, so you can think of like we have a Databricks, we have a storage here. Now we are connecting this Databricks with that storage using a storage credential. Now let's click on create. So our storage credential is ready. So we created the storage credential. It is like Databricks employee ID card. It tells Azure which approved Databricks identity should be used. Okay. Now we have to create two more things. One is an external location, another is an external volume. We will see what is the use of each of this. Okay. So we will see how to create an external location. You remember that we have this container named as landing where the files will be landed on this container, right? Now we will create an external location and we can see how we can register this real ADLS landing container with the Unity catalog. Okay. So what we are going to do, we are going to register the real ADLS container with Unity catalog. For that, we are going to create an external location. Create external location. Let's name the external location like FinTech landing location. Now we will give the URL. Let's press the tab key, then we can modify. So what we are going to do, we are going to register the real ADLS container. So what is our real ADLS container name? It is landing. So instead of here, we will write that ADLS container name, that is landing. Now, where this landing is, it is in our storage account, right? So we have to write our storage account name here. What is our storage account name? Let's go and back here and let's see. It is master DB storage account 001. Master DB storage account 001. Okay. Now, dfscore.windows.net. Now, with we will keep the storage credential. Okay. So we have a storage credential with, let's name it the storage credential. Storage credential. What was the storage credential name that we just created? Its name is, Okay, we have closed that thing, but I still remember the name. It was like fintech ADLS credential. This was the storage credential that we have created inside the Databricks. Okay. Now let's put a comment also so that we can identify this one. So I'm going to name it like, so what is this actually? This is an approved ADLS landing area for incoming files. Okay. So we have created a external location which will basically act like a shortcut for the real landing container in the Azure. Okay. Now the next step is we are going to create an external volume. So to create an external volume, so basically volume you can imagine like we are creating a clean Databricks path that points to the same landing container, to the same ADLS landing container. Create external volume. Let's name the volume like fintech landing. Let's name it like fintech dev dot bronze dot ADLS landing location. Let's press the tab key. So location will be landing. Then we have to give the storage account name dot this thing. That is fine. We can just remove the comments and everything for now. These are not needed. This came just because I pressed the tab key. Okay, so this much would be enough. Let's put a semicolon to understand the line breaker. Okay, now let's try to run this query. Okay, we have to attach our SQL warehouse and let's run this. Okay, this is got created successfully. Let's verify whether we got the volumes. So we can write a command show volumes in fintech dev.bronze. So this is the place we created the volume. Just select only this one and let us try to run this code. Selected and run. So here you got the volume, that is the ADLS landing volume. Okay. So let's recap once again. So here the landing container is the real container where the files will be coming into. Okay. Now we got another one, that is the ADLS landing is the secure Databricks shortcut to it. Okay. So this ODM does not copy files or create another storage area. It simply tells our notebook access the same file safely. This is, you can imagine this like a shortcut. Now we will see how we can use this one so that you will get a more clear understanding of why we create a location and an volume. So since we defined the volume, now we will see how the notebook can read the file in the container and let's display the contents of that file. Okay. So for that, let's mention the path like volume path equals volumes slash fintech dev bronze ADLS landing. This is our volume that we created. We can see it here. fintech bronze ADLS landing. Okay, so this is a volume path. Now let's see how we can read the file from the container. Okay, read file in ADLS through the governed volume path. Say we have mentioned the volume path. The next step is to write the read. Before that, let's mention the input file. So what was the input file name? Input file name would be the volume path. So we can write in a single command by using a formatter. Here you can just press the tab. So it will be like volume path. And let's see what was the file name inside this container. Let's go to landing. We have the file name as transactions underscore day3.csv. Transactions underscore day3.csv. Okay. So we have mentioned the volume path and we have mentioned the file name. Now let's see whether the data is getting correctly. So for that we can try to display the volume. So display, how to display, you can use the dbutils dot fs dot list means ls. Then just have to mention the volume path. Let's try to run this. There is a syntax error and terminate f literal. Okay, there was a typo. Let's change that one. Volume path is not defined because I have mentioned it in the lowercase. So guys, these are case sensitive. So you can see here we are getting an error that is permission denied. In order to resolve this error, let's move on to the storage account. And in the storage account, go to the access control and you can click on add role assignment. Let's add storage blob delegator. You can choose this one. Click on next. Manage identity. Select members. Our access connector. Select review plus assign. So this will resolve this permission denied error. It may take a few seconds for the role to be ineffective. So let's wait for 2-3 seconds. Yeah, you can see here we have got that role assigned storage blob delegator to our access connector. Now let's move on to the Databricks and let's try to display this volume. Since we are getting the same error once again, let us try to add one more role assignment. Let's click on add role assignment. Let's search for storage blob data contributor and click on next. Select the manage identity. Select members and let's see the access connector. Select this one, then review plus assign. So both the roles got assigned. Let's try to run this command once again. Yeah. So you can see here we got our file listed inside this volume path. That means our Databricks was okay to connect to the container in the ADLS and it listed the file. Okay. Now let's try to display the content of the file. So for that we can create a data frame input df equals, you can just write spark dot read. Yeah, there is a auto suggestion. We can just press the tab key. My bad, that is something else. So let's write it once more. Spark.read.csv. Let's press the tab key. You can just remove the unwanted things from here. Okay, so input file is there in the variable, sorry, in the data frame input file. So just spark.read input file header equal to info schema true. Let us try to display this one. Oh, we got an error that path is not found. Okay, let's see where exactly this file is. Let's move on to the storage account and we can check inside the containers. So this is our container landing. File should be inside that. Okay, we have one more folder inside this landing, that is transactions, and file is inside this transaction. So we have to just update the input file path. Okay, so we will reach up to volume path. After that, you have to give one more folder, that is transactions. Now let's try to run this one. Okay, now let's try to display the file. Yes, so now we can see that the contents of the file got displayed. You can just review the file here to just check whether we loaded the correct file. You can go to the edit button. You can see there are 4 records and here also we got the 4 records. Okay, so this shows that the Databricks successfully read the file that is there in the Azure Data Lake storage account in the ADLS. Okay, so that is how we can load and display a file from the Databricks which is stored inside the ADLS storage. So guys, now we can see that the full connection is working. Basically, the step 1 was to give an identity, that is the access connector, which basically acts like a Databricks employee ID. And that ID will give the permission for it to access the ADLS landing container. Then we have created a governed path using the Unity catalog so that we don't have to place any passwords or long Azure URLs in our notebook. And finally, the Databricks now can read the file whenever it needs. So that's it for today. We'll see you in the next session. Thank you.